Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. These are Charter Moms Chats, and today we're featuring Ogden Elementary and the partnership Sí Se Puede Schools. And we love SAISD Choice Schools. We talk about them on the blog, but today we get to feature a particular campus and the partner that makes it so special. So let me introduce our guests. So next to me on screen is Nicanora Martinez, and she's the principal at Ogden Elementary. Thank you, Nikki. So below me on screen is Ixchell González, and she is the executive director of Sí Se Puede Schools, which is the partner to Ogden Elementary. And then across the screen from me is Irma Mares, and she is an assistant principal at Ogden Elementary. So thank you, Irma, Nikki, and Ixchell for joining me on Charter Moms Chats.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so it's great to have you guys on. I actually visited Ogden Elementary pretty soon after the partnership started, but I think it was still called Relay Lab Schools back then. And so it's great to get an update on what's happening with Ogden, and it's exciting that it's part of the SAISD Choice Schools. So, but I know we'll get into all of that more. But I was wondering, can we kind of go around the screen and then each of y'all explain, like which organization you're part of, and just kind of briefly describe your role. So how about we'll go next to me, or go ahead. Ixchell, you want to take it?
Okay. I'll get started. So great. I was the founding principal. I actually was here when you came by and visited and got to chat with you, give you a tour. And so then I joined the at the time Relay Lab Schools as the executive principal and director of family engagement. And then I had the opportunity when we transitioned into a Texas only team to become the executive director. And so at that time, that was during COVID, there was lots of shifts being made. So all three of us have been here from the start in different roles. So I will turn it over to Irma so she can talk about her roles with us from the inception.
Hello, everyone. My name is Irma Mares. I'm the proud assistant principal here at Ogden Elementary School, and I've actually have had the privilege of working with both Principal Martinez and Ixchell González from the start of the beginning in building this 1882 partnership with the district. So excited to be here.
And I'm Nikki Martinez. I'm the current principal here at Ogden Elementary. I've been here for a very long time as well. And I initially was one of the founding leaders here at the school. Prior to becoming the principal, I was the assistant principal. And so I naturally went into the role of principal, for which I serve the community now.
Well, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate all the introductions. And I guess I'll just take a step back and add context. So the term SB 1882, that's the law that made it possible for schools that are part of an ISD, right, San Antonio ISD, to partner with an organization like Sí Se Puede Schools to bring extra knowledge and professional development and new ideas, more personnel. There's additional funding from the state, and the goal is to drive quality and be responsive to the community. Create really amazing schools in parts of San Antonio that historically need more support for education. So I just want to clarify, that's why we have people from two different organizations, but it's a team approach, and that's what the SB 1882 partnership means. So anyway, we explain more about this in so actually this is my chance to plug the blog. So there's a link in the description of the video, or if you just go to shrmoms.com, it's at the top of the blog today. It's a brand new post that talks about Sí Se Puede Schools, and it's also got links to our SAISD Choice Schools enrollment guide, which has lots of information about all the SAISD Choice Schools, including Ogden. So that's a way for folks, if you want to geek out, dig in a little bit more. But I'm excited to hear from you all. Okay, so going back to 2018, and actually there's a link in the blog post to an article from the 74 Million, which is a great national education publication. And they came and studied, the partnership and what that meant for Ogden. So what are some of the ways that the partnership has been making a difference since 2018?
This is a lot different than being in person, by the way. I was trying to use some body language here.
Right.
But there's been a great transformation over the last few years, almost a decade. since we have gone into this charter. So one of the great things that we have transformed and been able to do is really be able supportive of our teachers. And we, like you said, we provide professional development that is tailored just for them. And so one of our philosophies here is the stronger that we make our teachers, the stronger the instruction, the higher our student achievement's going to be. And so through the practices that we've had over the years, we've been able to really cultivate and get into the classrooms and coach our teachers and support them in every single step to maximize that instruction so that our students are high achieving. And because of that, our philosophy as well is making sure that we have that equitable education. And I know that's a key term that everybody's been using lately. However, I can say here at Ogden, we've been using that from the beginning. It is setting that bar high and making sure that our kids are going to attain that bar. We don't go into our classrooms thinking, oh, this is where they're at, so this is what I'm going to teach at. Instead, we say, this is where we want you to be, and we're going to get you to that level. So really having those mind shifts and those practices to really cultivate our teachers, and then the relationships that we build with them and that we model together in turn happens with our students. So they're building those strong relationships and routines and procedures and classroom expectations in what the kids are doing and achieving in the classroom. And so all of that culminating together has transformed Ogden into being the school that we are today. And when you walk into our classrooms, you see teachers excited and happy, and our kids are too. Our teachers are used to us being in the classrooms with them. They're not in this alone. We're there to support them. And the kids are so used to us being in the classrooms as well. It's not that's the principal or that's the assistant principal. It's like they're in here every day. They help every day. They teach us too, because at the end of the day, it's taking our Ogden family to really be able to grow and support our kids. And that has been a transformation over time.
And just to add a little bit more, I know the article also talks about the leadership pipeline and the teacher pipeline. And so I just have some data that I'd like to share. For example, everyone on this screen and a lot of individuals that you've met served as fellows. I went into MPAF, this National Principal program. And what that did was it aligned all the leaders to speak the same language and just be very clear when we use a certain waterfall, we're all aligned on that same expectation. So it's very, very clear that aligned leadership. So we have had 18 fellows come through the program. Everybody here has been a fellow. 9 fellows are still with us at both of our schools, both at Ogden and Storm. 3 fellows are still in additional fellows or SAISD. 2 are leaders. 1's a principal of another campus. And then we have 6 leaders that are leaders outside of SAISD. So 100% of our fellows have all continued in leadership roles. And so we're really proud of that, because again, talking about equity and having the right mindset as a leader is super important. For our residency, we've had 96 residents since 2017. And so 50% of our residents are still in SAISD, and 89% are still in education. And so for us, it's something that's really important, especially because of the teacher shortage right now. So again, that speaks a lot to the preparation and all of the hard work that all of our leaders have instilled culturally, instructionally, and supportively into our schools. So we're just really proud of that continued success. COVID again, throws a wrench into some things. So we are slowly trying to bring back our residency, because the biggest feedback that we've seen, from our leaders is when they have that 1 year preparation with a really strong teacher, they start their first year so much stronger. And with so many tools already in their toolkit, that Irma here has served this year as our primary instructor for our new teachers across our 2 campuses. And so, we're really trying to just, again, make sure that our teachers just have that continued support inside the classroom and in professional development, so that we can just sharpen their skills that they're already coming in with.
I think I want to add also, one of the biggest impact is because of these programs that we've had to continue to build our teachers, especially our new teachers coming in, we have seen such a major impact on our student culture. So we are all here for our students. So the programs that Ixchell's talked about, we're very strategic about planning those professional development to help support our teachers grow, because at the end of the day, it's all for our students. And kind of reflecting back on 2018 Article 74, where we build all those systems and that for both Ogden and Storm, it takes a village and it's taken all of us, but we have seen such a huge progress, and we are so proud of our students, and especially those that have already moved on since we've started from elementary into middle school as well.
I want to bring back a point that Principal Nikki made about the. I think it's really interesting that they. Having principals and leaders come in and observe in classrooms, that it's no longer remarkable. And I think that just shows how how committed you are to supporting the teachers as they grow. Because as I think Ixchell mentioned, like there is a teacher shortage. There's a shortage of, especially of experienced, well-qualified, master teachers. And so to be investing the energy to train these new teachers and to have teachers learn all the best practices, like that's so important, and that serves the goal of excellence, of academic excellence, having a high quality school. But it's those details like that brings it to reality, right? So it's like you can set a lofty goal, but then in order to make it come true in reality, you need leaders willing to invest. And then the Ixchell shared the stats about how many people have gone through the fellowship, how many teachers have gone through the residency, and to stay in education. And that's really an outlier compared to what's the norm in education these days, because we hear so much about people getting frustrated and leaving the profession, and we lose so much skill that way.
And our goal is to make sure, like when you think about a novice teacher in that first year, they're in the classroom, they're trying to navigate through so many feelings, experiences, wonders, and trying of new things. Our goal is to make sure that in that first year, they have a solid foundation so that they don't feel those things as much, because there are going to be some aspects that you feel like, a new teacher, but we want to equip them with being able to execute the lesson and do turn-in talks and do progress monitoring within the moment, and how do we monitor the teak that we're teaching, and how do we get data in that moment to close that data. And these are things that veteran teachers have learned over time, and we're not waiting until they're ready over time. We're trying to give it to them now, because if they can do it now and we practice and we coach and we get them to that level, they're more than likely going to stay in education. And the biggest piece for us is our kids are going to grow 10 times more. And at the end of the day, everything we do is about our kids. Everything we do is about our students. If it's not good for my own kid, it's not good for any kid. And so if that's the kind of teacher I want, and that's the teacher that I know the type of support, love, conversation, relationship that they need, then that's what I'm going to do. And all my leaders do that. We have little rolling desks, and we're all in the hallways moving about. And it's because our presence has to be felt, and we're in the classrooms, we're in the hallways, we're down the hall. This is the last place you actually see me. I don't think I've sat in here this long. And my chair still feels brand new, but because my mission is not here in this room. And the mission of my leaders, of my front office, of any leader and teacher on campus is those kids. And so they're the center of everything. And in order for that to happen, we are highly invested in making sure that we're spending that time, that practice, that conversation and love for them at all levels, so that they can grow each year.
Yeah, that's really important. Okay, so I'm jumping ahead in my checklist a little bit, but Irma brought up a really good point about school culture. And so Irma, I was wondering, can I put you on the hot seat to talk more about school culture, and then maybe your colleagues can chime in as well. But I liked how you related, this search for quality and excellence, and how that impacts the school culture, because you want to serve the children. So can you talk more about that?
Of course. So every morning we start with community circles. So we begin to build and set the day for our students, that excitement coming in. And there's always a lesson learned, which we also tie to our core values of our campus. So Principal Martinez, myself, we set these community circles for our students, which impact them. They get really excited about learning for the day. And then we continue to support them through those community circles within the classrooms, and the teachers continue to build those relationships, because as we mentioned, we need to ensure that we build those relationships with the students, ensuring that they're okay. There's a lot of social emotional aspects that we have to consider, and I think that's where a lot of the pieces that Ms. Martinez and Ixchell has brought up regarding how do we develop our teachers, because not only are they focusing on curriculum or they're focusing on assessment, but the first and most important part is building those relationships with the students, which builds that student culture.
Well, and colleagues, team members, do you want to chime in and talk about what you observe about school culture?
I think one of the biggest indicators of what our culture is when you walk into our building. And if you walk down the hall, you will see a hallway and there are no kids. It's quiet. There's times when I'm like, are there kids today? Because that is the biggest indicator for us that kids are in the classroom. They love being there. They're happy, and that they're learning. And that has been one of the biggest things in transformations over time compared to where we began to now. And our kids, 100% of them are in the classrooms learning, and that's where they want to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to add, when Nikki is saying that standard is high, she has I was going to say both of your children, but you have all three of your children here at Ogden. And so, one of the pieces that we really pride ourselves on is ensuring that we're really listening, not only to the community, but especially to our teachers. And so our insight surveys are really critical. We really take those apart. We don't just take it once. It's once, officially for the district, but we have different pulse points that our leaders put into play. Of course, we have our coaching sessions where our leaders weekly have an opportunity to speak with the teachers in a setting where there is consistent and supportive feedback. But for us, the feedback that we just actually got our insight survey back, and the professional development is one of the pieces that our teachers value the most. We build it into our master schedule. We make sure that the teachers have time for their observation feedback meetings. It's built, our weekly data meetings are built into the schedule. So these are not additional expectations that are outside of the day. They are built into the day because, again, our teachers are the most important resource for our kids. And so we want to make sure that they have everything that they need during the day so that they have the energy and the enthusiasm. One of the things that we know with, our framework at Sí Se Puede is it is not a one size fits all. We really have to listen to our families and to our teachers and to whatever's going on at that moment. Whether it's COVID or whether there's a shift or whether it's right sizing, we've really had to face that at our schools this year. And one of the things that I'm super proud of all of our leaders with how dynamic they are and how present they were in really listening and ensuring that every single person had a voice that was heard. And again, that all goes to the culture that was built here.
Yeah. Well, Ixchell, I have you on the big screen. Can you talk more about, I think it's been really helpful to learn about these practices on campus at Ogden, but I'm wondering, can you kind of share more perspective on Sí Se Puede Schools and what is the mission of Sí Se Puede Schools and kind of what are you doing, since you're not a principal, you're not an assistant principal or a teacher, you're an executive director, right? So it's a little bit different role.
Absolutely. And the great thing is I've sat in all those seats. So I know exactly what it's like to feel to sit in all those positions, especially even at these campuses. And so for us, it's just creating a school that really is listening to the community, to the family, to the teachers, making sure that education is joyous, purposeful, intentional. We have three in our framework. We have these three pipelines. And one is the teacher development that you've heard us talk about. The leader development. We want to make sure our leaders are dynamic and create this positive learning environment for everyone, because everyone in the building is a learner. And then our third tier is really our operations and our systems. How do we create systems for a school that, for example, is a turnaround school? How do we create those that want to just focus on prepping new teachers? And so we have these systems in place. And for us, it's taking care of a lot of the operational part, a lot of the budgetary part. So that is all taken off of our leaders' plate so that they can focus on instruction. I'm going to say 90% of the time, because everyone still has say. We still have our leadership team that gives feedback to everything that we do. We still, really look at our CNA to make sure that all stakeholders have a voice, and we hold ourselves to that. And so, but ultimately that's where we step in to ensure we're supporting the schools and carrying all of those pieces out.
Yeah. Well, I want to reflect on something you said about operations. And I think maybe like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, like I tended to focus a lot on, well, what's the learning model? Like, is it dual language, or, like the social emotional learning? That stuff is really, really important. But I think over time, I've really come to appreciate how important operations is, and also being smart about building the schedules, right? So that teachers have planning time and they have professional development time, and, really respecting them as professionals, and making sure that they get to do what they're good at, and you take the things that are not their specialty, take that off their plate and handle that behind the scenes, so that, because like the teachers and the school leaders, they're the ones, that's the contact surface with the kids, right? So the experience that the children are having, it has to do with, what is the teacher able to deliver in that moment? What data can that teacher deliver in that moment? And it's not, and so, right. So it's like, so make sure the teacher's in the best possible situation when they're interacting with students, and get as much taken care of behind the scenes as possible. So that's maybe an like makes you guys kind of unsung heroes, but I'm glad we can put a spotlight on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going down my checklist. You guys are great. You're hitting a lot of my points. Like I wanted to ask about the framework, and so I think what I want to hear more about is just like each of y'all share stories, like maybe things you've seen in the hallways or things you've seen in classrooms, and can demonstrate more about what the culture is like what's happening at Ogden. Oh, Irma, can you?
Yes.
There you go.
So I do want to share my story, or kind of a little impact on, because I have also had the privilege of being at Storm, as well as at Ogden. So a lot of what we are talking about have we built in both schools. So with that, the learning of the students is just so amazing when the students are beginning to articulate their thinking, when they're talking about their learning. That is what excites me and continues to drive the purpose of why we're doing this. And then in the teacher aspect, they're learning, they're growing, and you can really see it when they're delivering the excitement with the students. And so it's kind of like saying, like, because we do very specific coaching and observations and that, but when you see that live with the teacher, with that coaching, and that is just so exciting to see. So just wanted to mention, I've had the privilege to do this at both Storm and Ogden. And so that it just brings so much joy when I do go back to Storm and I go visit at the school. The kids are like, Miss Mares, where have you been? Or over here. So I can truly see that the impact is there, as well as with teachers that I have had such a great privilege to work with both at Storm and Ogden. Just continuing that connection, Miss Mares, how have you been? Just the connection between both schools. So I truly, truly see the impact on how, in my perspective, how I've supported grow teachers and students in both schools.
Yeah, the relationships. Okay, so who would like to share a story next? Nikki?
Yeah, I can share a story next. So I think mine isn't about an individual person. I think it's overall about the community. One of the things that happens most when I'm in the neighborhood or things like that is I run into past pupils who have been in our school. So now like the oldest group should be seniors at this moment. And so I run into them throughout different places. And I always hear the same thing, like, I miss Ogden, I loved being there. And because we're a generational community, they have siblings here. So like their siblings are still here, and I get to see them over time. And I get to see the generation that's going through just be happy about education, happy about being in school. We're having conversations down the street in a restaurant about the things that they did, the things that they want to do after high school, where they want to go to college. Or their siblings are walking down the hall and they're like, hey, Miss Martinez, my sister graduated early. So, she said to tell you hi, and things like that. So it's more about the story of the community itself and the many voices and experiences that have come out of all of this. And even from the respect from the educator, knowing that in the other schools, like in the middle schools and the high schools, when they find out that they have kids that are there that are from Ogden, I always hear the same thing. Your kids are so excited to learn. Your kids are excited to learn, like they just want to take it all in. They want to learn. And for me, that is the best story that I can have, because then we did our job right.
Right. You're seeing how they present themselves at their future schools, and that level of learning is continuing with them. That's really beautiful. Yeah. Ixchell, do you have stories to share?
I have two. So one just happened. It's really quick. Nikki was having a registration event. It was a Spring Fest, and past students were coming. And so I just hear them say, one school, one vision. And it's our cheer. It's our cheer that both schools say. And they were whispering it. And I turned around and I'm like, you can say it louder if you want. So, they're now, in 8th grade, about to go into high school. So I was having that conversation of, transition with them. But, ultimately, just again, like Nikki was saying, that joy, they still remember their cheer from community circle. And they still say it amongst their friends. And so for me, that just says, that passion and love for learning that Nikki was talking about, and that those celebrations that we constantly have, like, really do mean something to our kids. And the second story is a teacher. So one of our teachers moved, she got married, her husband got stationed somewhere else. And she sent Nikki and I separately, we didn't know, but she sent us both a message just saying how grateful she was for the time we spent with her as her coach. She's a leader now in her building. She was in our first cohort of residents, married, has kids now. But, she was just so grateful because she has now been at 3 schools, and her experience at each one of those has been different. But she always remembers just the time we spent with her. And like Irma was saying earlier, for us, it's about looking at what gifts they already come in with, sharpening those skills, and just making sure that they're the best that we put in front of our kids. And that's our goal, is to celebrate and just continue to make, our teachers better. And she just had such kind words for Nikki and I that we both actually shared at different moments. And I was like, oh, I got that text too. And, it was just such a great it was actually on Facebook message, that we heard. And she's not the only one. But when our teachers go off, and experience other things, they always, come back and are grateful for the learning that they had with us. And I always tell them it doesn't end, initiate those things. And, sometimes their principals have reached back out to me like, oh my gosh, this teacher is amazing. She does all these things, and she's planning, and she's, implementing, and always wants feedback. And that's because, again, that mindset is, again, you just want to be the best for the kids that you're serving. And that always means change and evolution and just being open to new things. And so that is, for me as a coach, and a continuous learner, something that I always cherish.
Yeah, you're having an impact on the teachers and leaders that you touch, because they're living it every day, but every now and then they'll mess right back and message, right? Yeah, or like Nikki said, run into somebody in the community and hear stories about kids at a different campus, and that they still have their love of learning. So, well, those are some amazing stories. I don't want to rush us, but I do want to make sure before we close out that we share information about how families can learn more, how they can apply. So I have the URL for SAISDchoice.com. Like that's that's like overall information about all the SAISD choice schools, including Ogden. Do y'all have any specific tips about, like, are there certain times that you offer school tours or welcome families on campus? Whoops. Oh, Nikki, can you, sorry.
You would think I would learn after all this time, right? So families can contact the office and set up tours. We mostly do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so they can, see?
The office doesn't even know you're there, right?
And they can schedule tours with the front office, and then they'll be walked around so that they can see and have a feel of the school during the day and what it's like and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you described about the culture. The kids are in the classrooms learning, and achieving that level of order, like happy order. It's hard to do at a school, right? Like kids, they all have minds of their own. They all have tons of energy, and they might just as happy be running around the hallways. But you want them in their seats learning and building those relationships with their teachers. So that's why like a school tour is really important. Also, I think too, when people come to the neighborhood and they realize like, okay, this is not the suburbs. This is the inner city, and that there's a certain number of challenges that these families are overcoming every day, to make sure that their kids are in school, clothed, fed. It's not, it's a different life than suburban life. And so when you see maybe the challenges in the neighborhood, but then see how dedicated the kids are in the building, how dedicated the teachers are, then that's a very hopeful thing to see, in my opinion. So,
yes, very much so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put the website on the screen one more time. So SAISDchoice.com gets you to the portal for all the SAISD choice schools, and Ogden Elementary is one of them, and that's why we've been featuring them today, as well as the partnership with Sí Se Puede Schools. So, and that partnership brings this framework, additional professional development. It's really had an impact since 2018. So, well, thank y'all so much for joining me on Charter Moms Chats, and keep up the good work. I hope you continue to get feedback from your teachers and students about the impact you're having.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you.